Oh, okay, we're going. Hey, I was just pressing the button. We don't want to not record. Yeah, I just made it in here. So, wow. Hey, welcome to Psychic Frank's Mystery School. Today is the 20th, Thursday the 20th of September 2018. An 11 year, a master year, very spiritual year of revelations. And we're coming up to the autumnal equinox on Saturday. Most people watch this show on. Are we all hooked up here? Yep, we are. Yeah, most people watch this show on Saturdays at 7:30. A lot of people see me on the street here in San Francisco and tell me how much they appreciate what I do in so many words. Just a smile says that. Yeah, let's get the. I usually show up here like a half hour early, but today I walked all the way here and it was good. So, okay, Frank, be here now. Be here now. Okay, every show inspires me. I'm inspired to do something. Uh, to believe in God is to see that life has meaning. Took me like 70 years to figure out the meaning of my life. Better late than never. Better never late. Who knows? But actually, I had my spiritual experience that life is a spiritual experience. But in '82, September 19th, so that was yesterday, was the 36th anniversary of when I got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, came back. It was very dark out. It was not a moonlit night. And I was staring out there, but the stars, for some reason, up on Cathedral Hill, I was on the 12th floor, and I looked out at the sky and it was like, and, uh, and then all of a sudden I saw a little twinkling, an unusual twinkling, and I said, "What is that?" And the next thing you know, I was on the floor, and it was broad daylight, and I don't know how many hours had passed. I was sucked out of my body. I was reading Eckhart Tolle in this book called the Antidote um, to Happiness, the Antidote, Happiness for People Who Can't Stand Positive Thinking. And Eckhart Tolle is mentioned in here, and I didn't realize it, but he had in London, he was in a desperate pace, and from what I gather, 36 years later, you cannot make this stuff happen. It's just, I guess we were chosen, but when I got back, I knew things were different. It took me since then, since '82, to figure out how my mind works. I started right off the bat. I realized I needed to learn how to, it was a lot about, handle. I was drawn to Tibetan Buddhism, and that's all about, control your mind, master your thoughts. Um, well, I don't want to shortchange it. There's a lot more to that philosophy than that. Okay, I'm all together now. Uh, the other day I was standing on the corner of 7th Street and Market waiting for the light to change, and there's this building in San Francisco. It's a deco building, and it reminds me of the Daily Planet and Adventures of Superman. And and uh, and I was looking at that beautiful building, and it was very windy, but it wasn't a harsh wind. It was a very beautiful, and I was thinking to myself, "Oh, this wind is washing away all the crazy thoughts from my head, or brushing all the dust that you get accumulates in the city." And then I looked up at that beautiful building, and the flag was waving, and in my head I heard, "And the land of the free, and the home of the brave," and I said, "Frank, you got to be brave to do what you do," and so I believe, I believe in God. I believe my life's meaning is and it's never easy. Like what I'm going to do today, I'm going to have to talk about some things. Whenever I plan on what I'm going to talk about, like the astrological events this month, September 2018, are as I said, this coming Saturday, the 22nd, the sun enters Libra, the autumnal equinox. Here in California, we're talking 6:55 p.m. But the harvest moon the following Monday, the 24th, 7:52 p.m., 2 degrees Aries. And I made notes on that, but we got plenty of time. We just started. So, so where was I? So, first of all, I want you to get this, please. This was only like 5 or 7 minutes, maybe 7 minutes tops. You can get it on YouTube. If you go to Google, they'll get you there. It's World Without Mind, the Existential Threat of Big Tech. Franklin Foer. People who watch this show know to have a pencil handy. Yeah, I should have made this clearer here because I don't know if you could see that. World Without Mind, Franklin Foer, E like in Edward, R like in Ralph. It's a video, but then there's lots of interviews of him. And he really talks about reverse engineering. They did it with food, now they're doing it with tech. Devices, public health problem, mental obesity. That's where we're headed in a decade or so. We've got a whole generation now, 17 years after 9/11. Actually, the graduating class of the freshman class of Harvard this year, 2018. These kids were toddlers when the towers went down on 9/11, and now they're freshmen in Harvard, and they're so attached to their devices. They don't know much about 9/11. They don't know much about what happened in 9/11. And so I believe we're going to get to something about that today. Yeah, so definitely listen to Franklin Foer. Because, Malcolm Nance wrote a couple of books, and he's really good. I think he's the sharpest knife in the drawer. But, excuse me, he says the same thing in like 300 pages about what this guy says in 7 minutes. No, I love Malcolm Nance, but I was very disillusioned. What do you call it? Anyway, I don't want to know what the word was. I just picked up his book the other day out of the library. I was waiting months for it, and last time I was here, I talked about how with 7 planets in Earth. Well, this Virgo energy now never be a better time for us to be practical and efficient and really get things done. And how my mind works is I watch things or I listen to speeches and stuff, and then I thought, wow, that was great. Like I said, listening to President Obama, it was after being deprived for almost 2 years of a sane adult. It was like, wow, yeah, just keep talking, just erase these last couple of years. There's almost 2 years of this public man, this madman. I wish he was a madman. I think he's just evil. But I got off the path there. So then my synapses start working, and that's really what's happening now. Of course, Saturn went direct, and Mercury's in Virgo, and what's going up now as we go to this Aries stuff. Mars in Aquarius supports getting clearer. It just Mars in Aquarius now, and it started in mid-May, and it goes until November 15th or something. So anyway, I was, as I said, walking around with the wind flying around, and my guides kept on showing me that speech by President Obama the other day. And at first I thought it was really beautiful, and it was, it just calmed us all down and told us all to vote. But then my guides kept on telling me this one part where he said, Donald Trump is not he's the symptom, not the cause. And then it's like seamless. He goes right into lawyer Obama, and you can't tell when he's doing it, but he makes things, maybe he just doesn't know. But I was waiting for him to say, I'm part of the cause. I'm the one that caused all these disfranchised people that voted for President Obama. But he takes no responsibility for anything. And then I'm reading Malcolm Nance, and I guess because, people of color, men of color, just like a gay guy growing up. I'm 70 now, so I know what it's like to be a black man in America, being gay from New York. Anyway, I mean, I got beat up just as much, and it was had to pretend to hate my own kind to survive. Oh, it was crazy. So, but the thing is, I can't believe, I believe the best in everyone. So I think maybe he just, of course, he's surrounded with people who put him on this pedestal. I don't think it ever dawned on him for a magic moment that he made some really weird choices. Because I made some notes here about 9/11. The day before 9/11, on the 10th, Rumsfeld made a claim that $2.3 trillion. See, I talk to young people in their 30s, 40s, who were, I don't know, where, and they say, oh, don't mention Cheney, or because he's not relevant. I get that from a lot of people, especially in the tech industry, who are in the now. And I don't get that, because if you don't make peace with the past, it's just going to repeat itself. And and I love democracy. The reason I'm saying all this today is because my days might be numbered here. Trump is saying if there's not a blue tsunami in there, which there will be, but he's already got plans to get rid of MSNBC, or at least strip it of its of its content. So if MSNBC goes, public access TV ain't far behind. I mean, right now Comcast is barely keeping us here. They quit tagging our shows 9 years ago. No, City Hall says it's illegal. They need to be doing that. But no, since Bayvac took over, it was actually 9 years ago. Coming this April. Yeah, it was. I remember because I just started my show 1 week. It said Psychic Frank's Mystery School on Channel 29 or whatever, and I said, thank you. I finally arrived, and Comcast decides not to tag my shows. I love that. So anyway, the very next day, 9/11, the plane drove in and destroyed the Pentagon, the part of the Pentagon where those records were kept. Now, that was a coincidence, I guess, huh? These are just things now. Please don't crucify me yet. There's more. I got a lot more to say. And then they say, and part of why I'm so excited in 2009 to have Donald Trump, to have President Obama, because I was sure he was going to. There was war crimes. There was torture. There were like all kinds of crimes against humanity, war crimes. And I thought for sure. He was going to go after Cheney and a whole bunch of them, and President Obama came up with sent Nancy Pelosi out to say that no, they would not be going after these people. And actually, it's worth. Bear with me for a second. There's something here I wrote, because there was an absolutely. A phrase, a catchphrase, the whole team said about they weren't going backwards, they were going forward. Oh God, my notes have God has no religion, Mahatma Gandhi. But just bear with me for 1 second. As I said, I usually get here a little earlier for myself. For not going to after Cheney and Bush. It was. They say it's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man. I think for a politician to go into the kingdom of heaven. So what's going? So I can't find the page where it was written down here, but they had this like slogans. They had this whole thing spelled out that said, they weren't going backwards, they were going forwards. The past had to be left behind. And I'll find it on my next show and get back to you on that. But you can Google it up. You can Google it up about it. There's plenty to read on YouTube and on Google if you type in why President Obama didn't press charges. Why didn't he follow through and totally Here's an interesting thing. Pray definitely for yourself every day or you will get nowhere. Why do you think every pope, the first thing they say is pray for me? I love when people, keep good thoughts for me. Yeah, I believe in prayer. I pray for myself. I wouldn't be here if I didn't pray for myself. Whenever I want a mystical experience outside of regular life, I go to the Cristo Rey Chapel where the nuns sing to God. They're cloistered. And, that to me is a mystical experience that it just blows my mind. So, and then another thing that needed to be brought to attention. So, yeah, do some research into, as I said, including myself. I was always all lined up to inherit $500,000 of my aunt's estate from this property in Oyster Bay, and just when everything crashed. So there was a lot of people, President Obama got Geithner, a Wall Street insider, to handle that, and it was all about bailing out the big banks. And yeah, he did the right thing, God bless him, but he had nothing to do with, he could have done so much. Say if he had gotten, instead of Geithner, someone like Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders was still around and very vocal. They could have definitely gotten better person than Geithner, who definitely would have taken care of us. But I remember he said over and over again, I don't care anything about a second term. Oh, come on, bullshit, Barry. You definitely knew. You knew what you were doing. I'm not going to get that Malcolm Nance, and all these people could just overlook all these coincidences. Like I was on TV. I remember hearing a report of just before right after the inauguration, in the middle of the night, there was a limousine with a black limousine pulled up to the side of the White House, and out rolled a wheelchair, and Cheney was wheeled in for a private meeting with President Obama, newly elected President Obama. I would like to know what went on in that meeting to make him immediately, change his tune about, pressing these war crimes. So when President Obama said Donald Trump is the cause, is the symptom, and then he went on about all the causes where people don't vote. I don't know what else he was saying. It was blah, 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 blah at that point. But the fact is he's taking no responsibility for anything, the whole bit. There was so much he could have done to help the working class, the taxpayer, who still, all the big money's going to the big banks. We're heading for, unless the blue wave happens, we're headed for a total definite, I'm just saying, listen to this thing about world without mind. Because we're becoming mentally obese, and all these this self-indulgent generation, so self-absorbed. Excuse me. With regard to the effect that separation has on love, one might say that. And that's not what I wanted to read. I wanted to read. This will close the whole chapter on Obama. And then we're going to get to what the only one that noticed it was the moments with Maxine Waters there. She was the only one that noticed that Dianne Feinstein, when she started questioning Kavanaugh, the first thing out of her mouth was, "I apologize for the protesters." That just blows my mind. And Maxine Waters said that was disgraceful. That was a disgusting display. God bless Maxine Waters. The only woman in the whole TV land, and there's a lot out there. And I want to be the second talking head here saying, yes. Dianne Feinstein does one good thing. They say when good things happen in government, they're an accident. She does one good, her modus operandi now, I've been watching her for 50 years or whatever. She does one really good thing, and then the rest, and all the bad things she does, she does. But I vote for her constantly because it's like the lesser of two evils, I really did vote for Obama because I thought the first time, I voted for him second time thinking he'll get around to it. But no, 2 terms went by, and now he's saying like he wasn't part of the cause. He pissed off a lot of people who are not as centered as I am, who are carrying a real chip on their shoulders. Thank God I'm not like that. He says, how to get over yourself. Why you are unhappy? Question mark. Because 99.9% of everything you think and everything you do is for yourself, and there isn't one. This thing you think is you isn't you. The real you was when you were a child, before your parents started indoctrinating you into hatred and prejudices and all that, you know. Yeah, I was thinking, you know, if Roe versus Wade gets overturned, maybe this, God forbid, but if, you know, I was around in the 60s, and I remember, you know, in California, I wasn't in California, but there was 27 the year of 1967. Yeah, there was, after 1940, I mean, there was like several thousand a year before 1930. As far as illegal abortions, because there were no antibiotics until 1940. But after 1940, it dropped to like, you know, a couple of hundred. But still, that's a lot, you know. And I remember in New York, Spanish Harlem, I mean, listening to the news in the morning, it was always, and it was always the poor women. The poor women. The rich girls got to go to Amsterdam or Europe or wherever rich girls go for abortions. But this was all about backyard, you know. I don't want to get graphic because I know a lot of kids watch here, but you know, the last time there was a big abortion protest here, I was watching on the news, and all these young girls from all over the peninsula got on board with their little posters saying, "Don't kill babies." They don't understand. They don't know. You know, this is, I'm not saying this, I don't hate kids, but we have the most illiterate generation ever. I think nobody knows now all these things that we grew up taking. Civics classes aren't taught. You know, I don't have any kids, but as far as I'm concerned, everybody's my kid. So anyway, yeah. So I love that. Why are you unhappy? Because 99% of everything you think and everything you do is for yourself, and there isn't yourself. There isn't this you. So at least spend some meditation and let go of who you think you are, and yeah. And then it has, if I had my life to live over, I should form the habit of nightly composing myself to thoughts of death. I would practice it as if it were the remembrance of death. Without an ever-present sense of death, life is insipid. You might as well live on the whites of eggs. Inspector Mortimer in Muriel Spark, Memento Mori. Yeah, so... yeah, make your life meaningful. If you can't find something to be meaningful with, you know, people died for what Jeff Sessions is doing. I'm laughing because it's a nervous laugh I have. So yeah, Maxine Waters, God bless her, is the only one that noticed that Dianne Feinstein actually, if the Boston Tea Party hadn't been a protest of saying no taxation without representation, and the tea went overboard, we wouldn't have this country. So we need to have a protest day in honor of protest. I know a lot of my buddies, I didn't get to go to Vietnam because my number didn't come up in the lottery. I didn't avoid it. I was stuck in New York for 4 years. And I had to report to the draft board on a regular basis, and I couldn't move. You know, I had to let them know my every move because I had a little bag packed. I was ready to go, you know, so just my number didn't come up. But a lot of my buddies who did come back didn't come back whole. You know, they're damaged. They're damaged. And a lot of them think that we need more statues, you know, bless their hearts. Yeah, like there aren't enough statues. I don't know. Where's humility? There comes a time in your age where you should start transcending your ego. Then that small voice gets louder and louder. So President Obama could have done a lot to not piss off a lot of voters. His center right, I think he was disillusioned. I gotta stop saying I think. I know it. He came in there thinking like, I'm gonna be center right. I'm gonna, you know, he had this thing like all of a sudden he had no idea he was gonna get 8 solid years of obstruction. I think hindsight being 2020, I think even he might have thought he could have done a lot in that first 6 months, if he knew what he was up for. But as I said, he made a deal with the devil, with Cheney. I don't know what they talked about, but the next day he didn't have the nerve to come out himself and say it was over. I remember Pelosi announced it on all the networks. So, you know, I love him. I love everybody, but enough people are, put him on a pedestal. And I'm saying the man's human. He made some mistakes. Maybe he'll be old. Maybe he doesn't know it. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, just thinking he just never made the association. And I hope somebody, is like telling him, hey, like you used to say, hey, your slip is showing. So nowadays, they don't wear slips anymore. But, as I said, your lawyer's showing. Yeah, I talk to a lot of lawyers, and a lot of times during the session, I'll have to interrupt them and say, excuse me, we were having a great conversation, then all of a sudden your lawyer came out. And they laugh, so... yeah, so my process is like, if something isn't right, my mind will go over it again and again. And then it dawned on me, like, Frank, you got to share this, because there's a lot of people who, who just don't understand why we're here. And and believe me, I want democracy to last. And if I was sure, I'm pretty sure I will be. I believe that we are going to get through this. And like today, as I was leaving the house, one of these on MSNBC or CNN, somebody was interviewing Doris Kearns, who writes these autobiographies of FDR, and she said she couldn't write an autobiography because it takes her 10 years unless she was totally in love with the character, so she could never write about a person she didn't like. And then they started talking about, well, just like Reagan was revered after his death, as he left office, and do you think the hexer had the nerve to say, do you think Donald Trump will be more demands a Russian asset, an idiot Russian asset, infiltrated our government and is hell-bent on destroying every institution. As I said, I won't be able to do this. This might be my last couple of weeks of freedom, or for that matter, anybody who watches any kind of unfake news station. I'm not making this up, but I want you to be alarmed, because as we speak, this is what's going on now. I couldn't be more, I want people to well, we vote here, but, really, I think in one of the George Bush elections, more people voted on American Idol than actually voted. This is like nothing less than because Michael Moore has this thing where Donald Trump might be the last president. I mean, it just might be. It's not just, I won't accept that for one magic moment, but it is a strong possibility. And if he, as I said, if this Kavanaugh horrible person gets into the Supreme Court, you could pretty much say women's rights are down the tube, and illegal abortions will be back, and maybe that's what these young women need. Where's Allison? We're supposed to, she died in a backyard abortion. Maybe that'll get them to put down their devices and pay attention to what's going on, or maybe do some research. And well, when you see what's going on, the reason I'm so down on, I was always down on it, but especially since I listened to that, once again, I can't say this enough, if anything you get from this show, it's that Foer, F-O-E-R, Franklin Foer. I had a chance meeting with a writer waiting at a bus stop last week, and it was one of those angel choreographed meetings. She knew about Kathy Acker. We talked. I said, I knew a writer. Mentioned some of the writers I knew. We dropped a few names, and then we bonded. And I told her about my show, and then she said something interesting about a psychic back just when Donald Trump got elected. She read her somewhere on the computer, who said that Donald Trump will have a 2-year presidency, and then he'll be when he's taken out of office, he'll get killed by the Russian mafia. And then she disappeared, and no trace. And this woman said she was very computer savvy, more than I am, and she couldn't find it. And once again, my mind tells me, listen up, Frank, this is something true. And I realize, it's hard for me to be objective when I'm involved so personally. That's why I do good when I read for perfect strangers, because the less I know, the better. But when I know someone, it's harder for me to be non-objective, and because how could I be not non-objective because I'm dealing about my country and my very rights as a human being. A homosexual man, a psychic, by the way, in San Francisco, totally right brain and a left brain world there. Uh, yeah, global study says yeah that alcohol, even the least little bit, is not right. War is organized murder and nothing else. The last surviving soldier of World War II said that. Bertram Russell, rather. Men are born ignorant, not stupid. They are made stupid by education. I say that a lot because that's one of my favorite ones. James Baldwin said, ignorance aligned with power is the most ferocious enemy justice could have. If you have no character, your destiny is a tragedy. And Steinbeck said, war is a symptom of man's failure as a thinking animal. No, I'm guaranteed the pendulum is going to go the other way. Love is what we were born with. Fear is what we have learned here. The spiritual journey is the unlearning of fear and the acceptance of love back into our hearts. If you're killing somebody under the name of Jesus, shame on you. Those who try, well, maybe it's a different Jesus. I take that back. Maybe your Jesus is not the pacifist healer who stomped on the Torah back in Bethlehem there. You know, it must be another cat named Jesus running around who loves killing. Yeah, those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. Yeah, okay, I said all this last time. Your heart's desire is a voice of God, and that voice must be obeyed sooner or later. That's why I'm here. Yeah, pray for yourself. Yeah, world without mind, Franklin Foer. U.S. data needs protection and regulation. Duh, you think? And yeah, there's no regulations now. You know, see, the Russians didn't hack in. They just followed the rules. There's nothing to hack into. It's wide open. Anybody can come in now. There's no, they can come in and run amok. You're only as sick as your secrets. We learned that in recovery. Yeah, there's some people who are just, you know, honesty. They're just incapable of honesty. Have cruelty of spirit is what, and heart. Yeah, cruel, disposed to inflicting pain or suffering, devoid of human feelings, causing or conductive to injury, grief, or pain. Yeah, you know, as I said before, and maybe you didn't catch that show, but I saw a clip of Donnie Jr., Trump, being interviewed on Fox, and it was a one-on-one. I guess he was loaded, and he was joking around. He said, I remember being like 4 years old, and my dad sitting across from me, sat me down and said, now, Donnie, you don't trust anybody. You understand? Nobody. And then a few minutes later, he'd say, Donnie, you trust me? He'd go, yeah, Dad. He goes, what did I tell you? You don't trust anybody. So then we wonder why Donald Trump Jr. is the way he is. You know, yeah, the end is coming. The end is coming. Is a symptom, not a cause. Yeah, that's what I hope President Obama would have said. He should have said, Trump is a symptom, not the cause. I am a big part of the cause as I allowed Big Bank and Wall Street to be in charge instead of putting someone like Sanders or Warren. Millions of Trump voters were the ones that I threw under the bus. This is Obama talking. This is what he could have said. I was writing a speech for him that he'll never say. Yeah, he should have gone after Cheney and Bush for the war crimes. Second was putting, you know, Wall Street Insider in charge of the whole thing and bailing out the banks, totally ignoring all these people who, yeah, as I said, not everyone is so spiritually oriented as I was to, you know, laugh it off. Yeah, there's a lot of hurt people. You know, once you're betrayed, you know, thousands of people. Think for a second about that war that's still going on, especially during the, you know, there were these, I remember it was Christmas and all these little old ladies were building bombs to make money for Christmas for their kids. And there was no connection. There was this total disconnect. between the kids they were killing with those bombs and the money they were getting for making that. That's why you're wasting your time going on these million people to fight cancer. Start picketing the factories that make the poison food. Our food is being poisoned, and now our minds are being poisoned. There's billions of dollars by Apple, all these big computer people now are spending a fortune working around the clock, learning how to make your kids mentally obese, how to get them total. They said. Beware of when they start ornamenting, and now they got watches. I mean, it's happening. This nightmare is coming out. I get on the bus sometimes in the morning, and I look up on the bus, and there's every single person of half my age there, and every single one of them is like in this zone. They're in this, like, I feel like Donald Trump in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I don't like them. I don't think there'll ever be a reason for me to have one of those devices. And if I did, I believe I'd have enough friends of mine that would tell me I would only use it for emergencies. Yeah, and Dianne Feinstein's married to Bloom. Show me your friends, I'll show you who you are. Show me who you're married to, I'll show you who you are. Yeah, all these supervisors, through some kind of tragedy, get into a position like, look at our we got now, London Breed, saying how it's so sad her sister died of a drug overdose, drug addiction, whatever, and yet she's doing nothing about harm reduction. Several states and mayors of several other states, Virginia, even are saying now harm reduction is the way to go. But you're dealing with someone, I don't know who this person is. She's not willing to learn. She's coming in to run her will. Believe me, she's just another one of Willie Brown's minions. I knew we were in trouble here in San Francisco when Gavin Newsom was mayor, and there was some construction going on, and I was really upset because of the noise, and I called. There was a number. It was a whole department attached to City Hall called noise pollution, and they told me that department is no longer there. It was defunded, and I knew right then what we were ahead, what was ahead of us, and then we had totally this whole assault on neighborhoods. Now it looks like Legoland. You could tell how well society's doing by architecture. President Obama, this illegitimate Russian asset, he keeps on talking about the economy's never done better. Well, duh, you have no regulations, you're poison. Yeah, with no regulations, sure, the sky's the limit. Carbon emissions, pollute our streams and rivers. Yeah, it's like, and everybody stops to think about where is all this money coming from? Where are all these jobs? They're not building infrastructure. They're not doing anything. We should be having most of the military's funding should be going to finding ways to denuclearize this planet. Instead, we're doing the direct opposite. So please get involved. I mean, there's no lack of finding corruption. You can't spit enough, find something corrupt. Just find something to get involved with. And just one thing, Sergeant Bilko in the 50s, remember Phil Silvers? Bilk meant to cheat out of what is due, to evade payment, to skip away from. An untrustworthy, trickery individual. President impersonator Don Bilko Obama. Yeah, he's a bilker, bilking. That's an interesting word that I found, and they went that away. It's a great book by Malcolm Forbes on what he says about Ponzi. Well, I'm having a fun day today. We're not talking much about astrology, but I hope I lit a fire under you. I mean, there's something here about what I don't expect President Obama to do anything except apologize. And that's what I was looking for in this book, Just totally apologize, That's all you need. That's all you need to do. Yeah, it's right in here. I put a piece of paper in it so I wouldn't lose it. I think I might have left that book home. But this guy says, you know, when you realize what you've done, well, I'll bring it in next time to read. Yeah, I left the house in a hurry and I didn't take it with. Oh, here it is. Robert Grudem, Time and the Art of Living. Yeah, we got like 12 minutes left. This is, and then I'll talk about astrology, I promise. Villains, grand or petty, are remarkably adept at making hasty retreats from positions in which they have been vigorously attacked. The scrupulous person caught in some false position generally struggles like an upended beetle. The villain miraculously vanishes in an octopodal cloud of excuses, disclaimers, and assurances. He will call it an accident or a misunderstanding. He had been led to believe otherwise. He was under distress. He did not know it mattered. Yes, we understand each other now. It's a settled good. It's settled for good. He will side up to you as if you were twin mortals. He would commiserate with you about the ironies of circumstance and the silly ways of the world. And in so doing, he will be beating you twice. Once by deluding you about history, and once by capitalizing for his own safety on your inbred distaste for making trouble. I love this. But for all his consummate skill at moral posturing, the villain never seems to learn the most graceful and effective form of retreat, the art of a simple apology. Perhaps he is afraid that by admitting a little he would imply the admission of everything. Perhaps it is beneath his smoothness, so angry and self-righteous that he thought an apology is a waste, an evil, anthemium or something. Perhaps apology implies the thought he can least accept, least endure, the fact of his own responsibility. That's all I said earlier. You know, I'm not out to bash anybody. From the gate, I wanted Obama's wife to be the president. I think Michelle would have been an ass-kicking hell of a president. Instead, we got, I don't know. He had his name changed. The chart I'm seeing is the Barry Obama. I would like to see the day, time, location of when he changed his name to Barack Obama. Then I'll know, you know, I'd have more insight into who the man was, you know. So, yeah, we got Bilko in there now. Okay, let's get to the cards. I want to do a little psychic reading. Let's see now. We got, things could not be more intense. Oh yeah, astrologically speaking, it's really important to remind ourselves as we're going toward the autumnal equinox now. Okay, where's that piece of paper? Yeah, in a few days now, we get away from all this earth and we go into air. Okay, 1 minute, one magic moment here. Yeah, you know, I would much rather have come today and talk from the beginning about so many, you know, my Venus in Libra likes things so nice, and throughout the first several months of his presidency, his top political aides, such as the chiefs of staff Rahm Emanuel and his president Secretary Robert Gibbs, publicly and inappropriately pressured the Justice Department to refrain from any criminal investigations. Over and over, they repeated the Orwellian mantra that such an investigation were objectionable because, quote unquote, we must look forward, not backwards. As Gibbs put it in April of 2009, when asked to explain Obama's opposing thing, the president is focused on looking forward. That's why. Yeah, it was a wisecrack answer, you know. So yeah, himself decreed absolute involvement events for all that stuff. Nothing will be gained by spending our time and energy. This is President Obama saying back in 2009. Nothing will be gained by spending our time and energy laying blame for the past. We must resist the forces that divide us and instead come together on behalf of our common future. Isn't that ironic that now we're more divided from ever? So anyway, you can't turn back time, as Cher says, but you could sure as hell apologize and maybe get people interested that, okay, we're never going to see, the guillotine take Cheney out. They got away with murder. Many soldiers were betrayed by our own country. And then we think with a snap of a finger and a smooth-talking flim-flam man and polished lawyers, we could start trusting again. No, you can't have you can't have the Silence of the Lambs here and then pretend like, Dick Gregory used to say, you can't be working in a slaughterhouse, fill yourself with dried off blood and then go home and put on a tuxedo and go to a party with your wife and everybody thinks, you don't smell it, what's going with you? Because you need to shower. America hasn't had a cleansing. Let's hope now when the pendulum goes left, we'll get the cleansing. I'm optimistic of that. That guy Hastings, I think he had information. Hey, they're going to, I'd rather die for something than live for nothing, and I don't believe there's such a thing as death, and I don't believe they're going to take some little peon, like my motto has been, lay low, you can't fall off the floor. So, but the fact is, I think there's a connection with that Hastings young man whose Porsche or whatever went flying, exploded in a tree. And when he had information on the Pentagon, tangible information of what I just said about the, I don't believe there's a deep state. I believe there's just crooked, bad people. I don't believe I think they're crooked. And I think that, like President Eisenhower said, you have to keep an eye on the industrial military complex, and we haven't. It's bigger. We have enough bombs to destroy this planet to smithereens. Oh, Lord have mercy. So I got a little distracted today because I like things light. And I don't want to be the one that, gets all these people stopping me on the street. Like when I don't go to Democratic Party, conventions anymore in San Francisco, because people say, hey, you're that guy on TV. You got an answer for everything, don't you? I go, well, what surprises me, you don't. You constantly watch the mind. A good life is when you assume nothing, do more, need less, smile often, dream big, laugh a lot, and realize how blessed you are. I'm loving life. I'm joyful. It's my duty to be joyful now. Everybody's grateful at a banquet, but now is when spirituality really matters. A great many people think they are thinking when what they are doing is rearranging their prejudices. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. So one more time, it's so important. World Without Mind. It's a 7-minute video, easy to get. Franklin Foer. Share it with your friends. There's an epidemic going on. There's brains that are being. Like the guy I just read said. Has a shirt on, dance like the Russians are watching. Let me pick some cards now. I'm going to pick 9 cards for my viewers. Let me get centered, clear some energy. And I'll be back here, God willing, next month at the new moon. I'll be here. That's coming up. I won't be here for that. That's the Libra new moon. But I will be here, God willing, on the 4th. Yeah, I'll be here the Thursday, the 4th of October after this. So let me see what my viewers, what my angels want my viewers to know here. Yeah, be preoccupied with collecting non-material things. Yeah, you gotta survive, but how well can you eat? God doesn't live up there. God lives among the lowest of the low. I wish City Hall would know that. I wish people in power would understand that. Okay, let me see what my viewers need to know. I'm going to do the 9-card spread. And this is collectively what our collective subconscious wants me to tell you right now. Your inner self, your outer self. Yeah, as I said, respect ourselves, our souls, to think that hearts only open inward and they don't respond to commands. You can't say, get over it. It takes a long time, and trust never gets to where it was. We were betrayed at the deepest, deepest level. And so many people, when I bring it up to them, these Jenners, I don't know, we're up to Z now. I think it's the Gen Xers or whatever. And they go, that's not relevant, Frank. Nobody's interested in that. Well, I'm interested in it. Nobody's thinking here. Glad I'm like Madonna. Well, I'm glad I'm here and I'm doing some thinking. Let's see what we get here, sweethearts. Death will pick us up, spinning us around, and drop us down deeper in our own life. Yeah, collectively now, this is a 22 year for America, /4. We want to keep it elevated. We're going to change paradigms this year. It's all happening. This year, and America goes from spring to spring, so this 22 year is just happening, actually. And this is a 22 month for America. Next month is a good month for America because we're in a 5 month and we're a 5 life path, 4th of July 76. Yeah, we've got a lot of work to do. Money is, like Louise Hay used to say, money is the easiest thing in the world to manifest. Do it with integrity. Yeah, that's where it gets really colorful, you know. Let's see what we get here now. Here's our past experiences. We're ready for this new start. It started actually a few years ago in our 1 year. We're in 4 years into this 9-year cycle. Major Arcana now. Yeah, we're in the lab. It's Mars is doing a number with Pluto. So it's synapses are happening in our brain. So all you have to do is acknowledge what's going on. Show up. Be present. What we're expecting now, I believe many of us are having contemporary mystical experiences. I believe I said on my last few shows, collectively we're all waking up to different dimensions of consciousness. And I believe we're all starting to understand it makes no sense to take our troubles into the dream state with us. So it's important to use our throat chakra and say this simple sentence: I release this day. Okay, bye. I gotta go. I didn't realize it was so late. Love you guys.